All right. Mr. Nugent, Madam Clerk.
Doesn't light. It only lights up when you speak. Say something. See?
But why do I have this little, my number 2 is lit up, your,
I don't, it, no, just, I don't know.
I don't know. George! Where did, he went downstairs.
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 George, you ready to go?
Not yet. Ready.
George, why is number 2 lit on my mic?
Okay.
No, find out.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, September 21st Monroe Town Board meeting. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
It's a Monroe thing.
There's Ducky.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending, who was in attendance tonight. Couple of announcements for today. Month. Honored to recognize work about the orange side in a positive way. Scouting prepared values such as this troop as projects that there was actually a ceremony here about a week and a half ago where it's actually on our constant contact.
Our projects.
We got to produce more Eagle Scouts than anywhere else in the country.
Yeah,
I would think. We have to.
I think the average is 2%.
Well above 2%.
Yeah, it's well above the 2%.
Hats off
yeah.
to the troop leaders for
But that's,
producing
listen, that's where it
one
comes
Eagle
from.
Scout
It's
after another.
all about leadership.
And the parents,
And the parents, yeah.
got to back up
Absolutely.
on that, so it speaks well of our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, couple other announcements. That they would just, I believe, 11 other highway departments up there that assisted the town and the village of Montgomery, and our highway department was astonished at what existed. I went up there the second day to meet with them, and they were actually in front of the home of Brian Marr, who was the town supervisor's brother, and there was probably like 6 hours of work just in front of that house on the constant work that they had. Down brush, picking it up, chipping it, and the same went for up to, I believe, John, was it 10 inches trunks that go through that chipper? So, yeah, so there was one crew went up one day, another crew went up another day. That Russia has it was down.
Couldn't afford a Chevy at 7.
Name is Chloe Chambers, and she set the Guinness World Record for the fastest vehicle slalom on September 2nd, 2020. She reached this impressive achievement behind the wheel of a 2020 Porsche 718 Spyder with a run time of just 47.45 seconds. So congratulations to Chloe on that achievement. That's awesome. Okay. Can I get a motion to open up tonight's board meeting?
Make that motion.
Cologne, a second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
So moved. I'll make a motion to open up the continuation of the proposed hearing, of the public hearing for proposed changes to Article 14 of the Town of Monroe Local Zoning Law.
Cologne, a second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Aye.
So moved. Is anyone signed up to speak?
Absolutely. I mean, any zoning change, the public comment is going to get, included with the.
What's the timeframe on this?
So actually, I'm planning a meeting next week with the planner to kind of go over, to get this back rolling again. And so hopefully, if we speak with him, we can. Like, I would guess it would depend on what they were before and whether they were on, were they on the, were they on the builder's acre? Were they on a contractor's acre? Are they on multiple acres or?
That didn't even exist when these homes were built.
Well, I'm sure it was like homesteading, right?
Two roads down where I 90% of them are fall into that category.
Yeah.
At the top,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
What I'll do is when I meet with them, we'll look at those parcels over there.
Yes.
Around Sapphire, where you are.
Sapphire and probably when you get over in First and Second Street and Avenue and that area.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I know.
Because those are,
yeah.
like I said, they were pre-existing for a long time.
Okay. Yeah, no, we'll look at those when we look at it to figure out what, how they would be affected either way by this law
Thank you.
or by the change of the zoning.
Thank you.
Right,
got it.
Ward, don't leave yet. Last week, or last meeting, I should say, not last week, you had comments about parcels that were less than 40,000 square feet.
Right, I had to go through the ZBA.
Had to go to the ZBA. I contacted Mr. Nugent, we had a brief email, we wanted a little more information. My question to you is, one of the parcels that I kind of looked at, your question sparked an interest, was we have now SR 20,000 square feet. But a lot of the homes are not 20,000 square feet.
That's right.
They're like 17.9, 18.2. And Mr. Nugent can research this a little bit more, but I believe the way the proposed law is written is if you have enough frontage, it doesn't matter. You would still be grandfathered. And if Mr. Nugent would just confirm that, is that what your concern was? It's not just the 1 acre, it's also all the other, like SR 20s, SR 15s, SR 10s.
Right. Some of them can never make it. They'd have to be ZBA'd in, and it wasn't their fault because when they were built, there was no code that said you had to have
Correct.
that setback and whatnot. And I know in my case, my lot was shortchanged by the 40,000 because originally when it was laid out, my property line went to the middle of Sapphire Road. When it became a town road, they would go 25 feet. Well, they chopped that off. I'm never going to make that. So through that quirky thing, then building inspector assistant, Bill Muenti, sent me to the ZBA, and I went through that and fulfilled that obligation and was codified. But in this code, I'm sort of left out because it doesn't mention those lots that were made legal through an action of the ZBA. Should be grandfathered in.
Mr. Nugent, is that enough information for you now?
Honestly, I wasn't prepared to discuss it, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. No, we will.
Ask that question or Sorry, I wasn't aware you were going to be asking that question, so I wouldn't want to say, confirmed here in this,
Okay, but we'll at least have a little bit more information so we can discuss it through an email later on this week.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ward.
Yeah, Councilwoman Bingham, maybe we'll talk afterwards. Maybe we can work that out where we're both talking to the planner about this, whether we do it in person or Zoom or whatever. All right? Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? I'll make a motion to keep open the continuation of the public hearing for the proposed changes to Article 14 of the Town of Monroe zoning local law.
Bingham to second.
Call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
On October 5th, 7 PM or immediately thereafter.
Bingham to second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Good night.
So moved. I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing for proposed local law number 3, amendment to chapter 57 of the town code to regulate rental properties and transient housing.
I'll second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Cantaloupe, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved.
Yes. Do I take my mask off, or is it
Yes,
up to
yeah,
me?
you-
Good, thank you. Sorry? Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's like the
Sorry.
voice of God. You're-
Hi, I'm Camille Tokerud.
Say the last name again?
Tokerud. It's Norwegian. Tokerud, something like this. Any case, thank you for letting me speak tonight, and a few of you were able to jump on the phone with me earlier. A neighbor of mine alerted me to this hearing that said I might be interested, and when I heard about it, of course I'm interested. I've had a house here for 20 years, raised my kids here. They're in their 20s now, starting their little careers, and so our home is really special to us, and we want to keep it in our family. With all the bumps in life, including the raising taxes here every year, one of the situations that we've done to keep the house in our family is to rent it. When we started renting it a few years back, I had just homeowners insurance, and so I started checking in all the time with my homeowners insurance, making sure I was doing everything by code and by law. They suggested to me that if you rented more than like 5 times on my insurance, that it wasn't covered. So I then switched to commercial insurance. Commercial insurance is rather expensive. It's probably 4 times the amount I used to pay for my homeowner's insurance, but I needed to protect myself, my investment, my kids' family, house, which I hope to pass on to them one day if I kind of stay in Monroe. And I wanted to protect the renters if they're at my house. God forbid something happens. So it was a commitment, but it was like, am I going to try to keep this house in our family, and what do I need to do to keep the means of that going? So to rent it made sense to us. So Airbnb and Vrbo sort of exploded during this time, and the nice thing about those situations is they are based on ratings. I happen to have a 5-star rating. That means they put a lot of attention to my home. At the beginning of COVID, I did not rent it. I started to rent again, but I am very vigilant about putting in all the protocols for PPP and putting separations in the dates. My neighbors, like I said, are the ones that, you know, they're like my backbone in my extended family here. They want me to stay here in town. They told me about the meeting. I care about who I rent to, so I only go to people that are really like-minded, want to come up to Monroe to take nature walks and the likes. So I put a lot of attention to who I accept. It's only small families or friends, and they're not big groups, so I'm totally opposed to stopping this situation. I'm not opposed to regulating it at some point or somehow, licensing it, regulating it, whatever we need to do, because if there's a few bad apples out there, I don't think that should stop it for the rest of us. And if it was regulated, and you regulated how many people you could rent to, or you could just track it a lot easier, I suppose, right? If there was a problem, you could send enforcement in or stop it somehow. I mean, everybody has a home here in Monroe, so how do you regulate that nobody ever has a party or that somebody doesn't do something? But in my case, if I make a contract that says that I only allow the people that are renting into the house that are renting, and if they want to have additional guests, like maybe their family lives in Monroe, they have to ask me that permission ahead of time. And if I grant it, because it's a small thing, I've never granted a big party or anything like that. It's just a family or a small group of friends. So I'd like to continue. I don't want to get pushed down in Monroe. I think it's very important to have, you know, older folks that have adult kids to be able to stay in Monroe and not get pushed down. I want to stay here. I want my kids and grandkids one day to live here. So I can't imagine what myself or my renters are doing to deter or hurt Monroe. If anything, it's nice that they come here and take advantage of the nice things and pay for the restaurants and go to the park. So I'm not doing any harm. So when I asked my friend, what would it mean if I continued to do it? And he said, it's a $500 fine maybe and up to some jail time. I'm like, jail time? You know, that just doesn't seem practical to me. So I think we should be able to regulate it somehow. Happy to get licensed. I'm happy to have the building inspector come in and see my home, and we'll take it from there. So thank you very much, and please consider it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I lower my mask?
Yeah.
I will, yes. Good evening, council people. My name is Ilya Harkover. I'm 36 years old. My partner, Dyer, and I, we just bought an investment property in the town of Monroe. We closed on September 8th. We're both prosecutors. We've been prosecuting for 12 years in Bronx County. And, you know, so as government attorneys, we don't make much money. We saved what we could, you know, put our heads together and bought this house with, not just with the intention of doing Airbnb rentals, but also as a vacation home for us. I have a 1-year-old and a wife, and it means the world to us to have this opportunity. I apologize that we're not dressed more professionally. Normally we would be, but we've been working on this house ever since closing day. He and I have done the hardwood floors. We painted. We've done all the work on this place. We've spent thousands of dollars in Monroe and, untold amount of money on the home, because when you get an investment home, you put 25% down. So we have a lot of skin in the game, and, I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 5 years old. I'm trying to make the American dream. We are not opposed to regulation. Clearly, we're prosecutors. We understand abiding by the law. This is what we do. So if there is a regulation and you require us to be licensed and you want us to pay an annual fee and you want someone to come inspect the place, by all means, we support all that. In the alternative, I would suggest that maybe for people who move here and buy a home and try to do Airbnb or VRBO rentals after you pass the law, precluding them maybe is an option, and grandfathering those that purchased before the law came into existence. I'm just suggesting, spitballing ideas
That's fine.
here.
Yeah.
But if ultimately the conclusion of the council is to regulate the home, we're for that. But to preclude us from doing Airbnb rentals would force us out. We would probably take a huge hit and have to leave. And all the money we've been spending on restaurants and feeding our labor and spending in Home Depot and all the stores around here, and all the renters that we would bring to the community to come and spend money in the community.
Where's your house?
It's on School Road. We bought from Doug and Anne Marie Mulholland.
Okay.
So it was very important to us to get a lakefront home, because we thought that would attract renters, and I wanted to raise my 1-year-old on a lake. I'm an avid swimmer. I like to paddle, and I'm always out there. So all of those things, checked a lot of boxes for us. And then actually I ran into the gentleman right there asking to use his clay courts the other day, and he mentioned to us that this was coming. And we had checked before we bought the house, because, as diligent prosecutors, we're going to look. Couldn't find anything, so it really took us by surprise, and we absolutely had to be here today.
Have you gotten a CO after all your improvements?
So, certificate of occupancy, we're not done yet. We're still working on the house. We have maybe another 2 weeks left. They're superficial. There's nothing that we have done has required a permit. We haven't done anything with the plumbing, nothing with electricity. It's just been, paint, take the baseboards off, redo the floors, that kind of stuff. The roof is in great shape. Everything's in great shape. The bones of the house are solid, but it was a dated home, so we wanted to spruce it up, make it look nice, take nice pictures, and be very discerning as to who our renters are going to be. I can't emphasize that enough. From our background, I mean, we're not looking for partiers to come in there. It's our home too. We want to enjoy it. So we're going to be very careful about who ultimately rents. But to say that transient housing is completely precluded, we feel is unfair. And so we wanted to make sure we come and give our 2 cents. Thank you.
I have a question before you leave.
Sure.
I know I had spoken to Camille. She says she usually rents for a week at a time. She doesn't really look to do any really thing shorter than that. Are you planning also to rent for a week at a time, or 2 weeks, or weekends, or daily? What are your plans?
Well, daily, I really doubt it. It would probably be weekends. Listen, if someone wants it for 30 days, that would be great. Take it for 30 days, but we can't do more than 30 days on Airbnb or VRBO. And I would also mention, as to the insurance point that Camille brought up, I hope I got your name right. There's only one insurance company. If you're not getting commercial insurance, there's only one insurance company that will insure an Airbnb rental. And it is expensive, and it's Lloyd's of London, and we went and we got that insurance, and they require more than I think the town would require in terms of safety things that we had to do for this home. I mean, from smoke detectors to railings on the dock to motion sensor light, a ring security system, cameras all over the place. We had to do all, and we've already spent the money on all these things. Not to mention the cost of the insurance, which we pay up front for a year. So, I needed to come and spill my guts here.
Can I ask a quick question of yourself and Camille? I kind of thought of it afterwards. So are you in the home when you're renting it out, or you guys clear out and then you rent it out and then come back? Or?
So it's a single family home. There's
right,
nowhere
okay.
for us.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what
While we've been renovating, since actually they gave us a pre-occupancy agreement, because We were supposed to close on September 1st, but the bank wasn't ready with the paperwork. They pushed us off a week, but we were eager to get in, so they agreed to rent it to us early and let us start construction. So from September 5th, we've been in there sleeping on air mattresses, living every day. I go home once a week to see my baby, and then I'm back at it. You know, and we work from there. Wi-Fi was the first thing we set up because we have to have laptops to work during the day. So, you know, we were very serious about making this a success. But if this law passes the way it's currently written, I don't see how we'd have to abandon ship, and we'd have to sell, and we'd take a hit. I don't see how we could, you know, because the bathrooms and the kitchens need renovating, but we can't afford to do that this year. We're hoping if it's a success, we'll keep improving the place. But if we have to flip the home without the bathrooms and kitchens renovated, we're going to end up selling for what we bought it for. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you all. My name's Dyer. You met my partner, Elia, my business partner. I'd like to piggyback on what he said. When we signed up with Lloyd's of London, it's actually called Proper in the United States, that's the company, but it's through Lloyd's of London. They said, you know, we're pretty hard on our insurance, the people we insure, but we look at you as partners rather than customers. And I would suggest this is actually a great opportunity for people like us who are looking to Airbnb to have a partnership with the town. We would love nothing more than that. And I'll give you an example. They make us send them photographs of our property to ensure that we're doing everything they want. But when I said to Ilya, hey, what are all the things we have to do to make sure that we're abiding by the law, that we're minimizing risk? Well, Proper Insurance gives us a list, and they say, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. They make us check on the windows after everybody stays to make sure that they're closed. So to help with that, we invested in a Ring security system where we can monitor, get this, we can monitor the windows, we can monitor the doors, we can monitor the smoke detectors, we can monitor the water usage in our house to make sure that we're not putting an excessive tax on the water that the rest of the town is using. And I would submit that at least the 3 of us here are the type of people that if you allowed us to Airbnb, we're going to have houses that are in pristine condition, always up to date, and we're going to bring in people who are going to spend money at your restaurants. I have spent so much money at the deli around the corner. I'm a deli guy. He hates it. He's like, we have cold cuts. I'm like, I don't want cold cuts. I want to go to the deli. But I have literally spent hundreds of dollars there. We went to the Italian restaurant on the hill the other day. I brought my parents. They paid, I admit. But we spent $300 there. And with COVID having devastated the restaurant industry, I would submit it's not a great time to minimize how much money people would be spending there. We would love to be in a situation where we could Airbnb. You asked about how many days. Airbnb is more valuable than a 30-day rental because it's hard sometimes to find 30-day renters, and we want the ability to use the property. I already want to buy the house next door and move in as a permanent resident. So in terms of like if you're worried about will there be permanent residents, you're going to bring people up here like Ilya who may one day say, hey, I want to now just raise my kids up here because we're in love with the place. I'm going to buy the house next door and move in love with the place, right? But we would probably go with, you know, some minimum, 2-3 days, something like that. But give us a checklist, make us follow your rules, make us make, you know, all of the right decisions, but allow us to partner with you guys. And, you know, it will no doubt help the economy as well. It could definitely be win-win, but please give us the shot because it will devastate us if we don't. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Anyone else?
If I may, I think this is going to be an issue that's not going to go away. We want to keep our residents in the town as people retire, and they are more dependent on a single income, and this would help stabilize our population and keep people who want to stay in Monroe. You know, we'll talk about this at some time, and I'm glad that you came over and at least enlightened us, especially to the fact of the insurance, which is going to be a big deal for us to check with them. So you've given us some insights, and I thank you for coming by.
I mean, listen, clearly, you folks are the poster child for how it's supposed to work,
Correct.
right? I mean, but the problem is the flip side. And the flip side is something that we've been dealing with here. We're trying to figure out how to mitigate that and not hurt folks like you that have done the right thing, but how to hold those people that don't care who goes into their homes. Our mind.
I think one of the important things is you're renting it out for a longer period of time, a week or a long weekend. What we don't want to see is Monday there's one person, Tuesday there's another person, Wednesday there's another person.
Yeah.
And I don't live that far from you off of School Road, so I know it's a nice area to walk. We've had other people who stay at the bungalows and they walk my neighborhood, I see them, and it's nice to see those people during the summer. So I appreciate you looking out for the residents and looking for a good clientele to come to your places, and that is what we want to encourage.
Right.
It's the 1 day, 2 days, and there's another person or somebody who's
Absolute
just
parties.
renting, for a wild party.
Would not appeal to a 1 or 2 day rent. The nature of the home, it's on land,
Yeah,
You have to come up to the mic, otherwise they can't hear.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that the nature of the home doesn't appeal to a one, like an apartment in the city or an apartment somewhere near an airport might appeal to a 1 day renter, but here we're trying to appeal to somebody who wants to visit their kid in West Point, who wants to go to Sterling Forest or Harriman, or who wants to go to Legoland or Resorts World and Casino. I mean, our guidebook, which I've been drafting, is so thorough. Like we've looked at all the different restaurants. We give them exact mileage to go to these places. We tell them this is our favorite pick for Italian. This is our favorite. We're trying to make it so that not only they come for 2-3 days or a week, but that they want to come back that same time period next year. We're really trying to make it, a hospitality success. We both use Airbnb regularly, and I have never once used Airbnb for just 1 day. I'm sure people do, but it's like a vacation thing. I'll go abroad, and I'll take about a week usually in an Airbnb. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but it's unlikely that we're going to be accepting 1 or 2 day rentals. We want the longer rentals ourselves. And I mean, to Mr. McGinn's point earlier about the bad apples, I agree, but I think that there's maybe a way to regulate that rather than just completely precluding transient housing. So.
Hi, I just wanted to make sure I was clear. Mary, I did say that during this epidemic, I have been doing longer-term rentals, thankfully, and it's worked out really great, but hopefully one day this pandemic will pass. So this summer I was able to do 2 families, both of which wanted to buy the house, and I don't want to sell it, so I hope I don't have to do that. And they've come back regularly, and so a lot of my renters have wanted to come back every year. I have people that live on my street, of which their family stays in my house every year when they come see their families. So it's a lot of repeat renters. I don't rent for 1 or 2 days, but I do rent for the weekends. I just want to make sure that was clear. So a long weekend, especially seasonally, a lot of people from the city may be able to come out just for the weekend. But I don't have somebody the Thursday there or the Monday when they check out. It's just weekends then. And especially with COVID, as I said, I put the gaps in there. So it's certainly not back to back. And my kids are always, my kid is actually at home working now for COVID at the house. So no, they don't even want me to rent all the time because we want to come and my friends too. So it's a balancing act, but yes, it's not all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One little thing too. We have cameras on all sides of the house facing outwards, not inwards, but outwards. So, and we make sure our people that rent are going to know that. So if there are parties, they're going to be caught on camera. Proper insurance, they have an option to require a noise monitor. No problem installing that, so that if it reaches a certain pitch, we're alerted right away. We deal with the problem. We also get 5% off our insurance, so we'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So just some ideas for regulation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thanks for hearing.
Motion to keep open the proposed local law number 3, chapter 57 of the town code to regulate rental properties and transient housing.
On the s-
question?
Bingham, aye.
Malone, aye.
Ankarello, aye.
That will
Excuse
be
me,
on
is the...
October 5th, 7 PM, or immediately thereafter. Next up is the motion to open the continuation of the public hearing for proposed local law 4 to amend Chapter 23 of the Town of Monroe Code for Building Construction Administration. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Malone, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ankarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. Okay, so we have before us Chapter 23. Brian and I had some discussion over the last couple of days about it. A lot of this was changed by our building inspector, proposed changes. And one of the major reasons I had brought it up was some of the inspections that needed to be done on a more prevalent, in a more prevalent time frame, more repetitively, I should say. And I wanted it outlined in there, is really where I'm coming from with this. Because there was, it was stated that it could be up to 3 years where you would inspect public assembly or a school. And I think the safety of our children is, precludes everything, and that's why I think this is important that these are put in place so that there's not any shortcomings when it comes to the children in their schools. We had a situation where the exit doors were actually chained and locked, and they were given a violation, and I believe they're supposed that happen again. I don't think anybody here wants to see that happen again, and I think it's important that we as the town board review this and make the necessary changes so that the safety of everyone in the town, including the children and their families, is on the. I have anything else?
My question is, the building inspector, most of these changes were precluded by the state code or not?
Ryan, you want to comment on that? Because we got something today at 10 to 4, from the building inspector. I was expecting it last week, so we didn't.
Yeah, so we haven't even had a chance to review that. It's not, these changes were made by the building inspector, suggested changes to the town code, the building administration and enforcement. However, today he sent proposed changes to the state's code that we're not even sure at this point how they affect what's proposed here. So this may have to be revised. We've asked him to kind of tell us what it is that's changing on the state level that we may need to address here. So even though he had provided these, it seems like with the state proposal, we may have to rework this again at the town level. But it is designed to be consistent with the state building and fire code. That's why the changes were made.
We can always make ours more strict.
We can always be more
Compared
strict.
to.
We just can't be less strict.
As Supervisor Cardone said, if we wanted to have inspections every year, but the state wanted every 3 years, we would be entitled to change the code to go to 1 year.
Yes, you can always be stricter than the state code. You just can't be more lax than the state code.
Public hearing for the proposed local law number 4 to amend Chapter 23 of the Town of Monroe Code for Building Construction Administration on October 5th at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Malone, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ankarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. I'd like to make a motion to open up the public hearing for the proposed local law number 5, amendment to Chapter 33A of the Town Code. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
All right.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay. I didn't expect anyone to speak tonight because I just handed out 33A, and it really pertains to the noise ordinance, which is kind of relative to local law number 3 in some respects. So what I'd like to do is everybody review it, and if we can come up with some thoughts coming back next meeting. I've spoken with the building inspector, and his thoughts on this are he presently has no jurisdiction to issue any violations or fines for a noise ordinance.
Right, as does.
And the state police don't either, yeah. So that's really where we need to go with this. Yeah.
Yeah, right now, the only thing you have is the individual filing a complaint with the Justice Court. That's the only enforcement mechanism at all.
That's fine.
Make a motion to keep open the public hearing for the proposed local law number 5, amendment to Chapter 33A of the Town Code on October 5th at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter.
Bingham to second.
Seconded, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
All right.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. Motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing regarding the petition to amend zoning ordinance Monroe Ninninger LLC. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
All right.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Okay, so nothing new has transpired. They're still before the planning board. We have not heard from them regarding this, so I would like to make a motion to keep it open. The continuation of the public hearing regarding a petition to amend zoning ordinance Monroe Ninninger LLC for November 16th, 2020 at 7 p.m. or immediately thereafter. Yeah. Like once in a while.
Every now and
Good job,
then.
Councilman.
Great minds think alike, you know.
You have better hair
I'm
than me.
pointing at Rick over there. That's
You
all.
have better hair than me.
Easy on the haircut.
Yeah, well, I got better hair than Sal, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're losing
Knew that
quick.
was coming.
We're losing quick
I will
here.
second that.
What, the hair or
The hair.
I'm going to abstain. No, I'm just kidding.
So did you second the motion?
I did second the motion.
Okay.
I said it was a good idea, then I seconded the motion.
Sal just second the other idea.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. All right. Next up, we have the abstract, the general fund abstract 20-22 containing checks 26063-26129 totaling $471,518.19.
Second that.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. And we have an escrow abstract, which is escrow abstract 20-12, containing checks 1930 through 1931, totaling $5,894.96. Need a motion? I'll make a motion to approve that.
Cologne, a second.
Cologne, a second. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. 6.1, dial-a-bus transfer. So we have a transfer from account A5630-4305 bus tires to account A5630-4223. That's $1,000, and that account was IT support. And the reason is those funds are needed to pay a $990 invoice regarding an email issue, which could have gotten really serious, but somebody was playing around with Dom's password and
Oh, okay.
computer, so it was thwarted, but it got a little hectic there for a while, so,
Worth the money to keep.
yeah. So we have a,
That was handled by,
yes, yeah. No, sorry, it was handled by New Windsor IT and Core BTS.
oh, is it?
Yeah, yep.
Good.
I'll second it.
Hingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Okay. Next up is a transfer from the Highway Department for $490 from account DB-511-4359-00. That's a highway general repairs crack seal, and that transfer will go to general repairs for paint, which is account DB00-511-4353-00, and that's to eliminate an account deficit.
Hingham to second.
Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. Next item up is the acceptance of the August 31st, 2020 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Any changes, alterations, corrections, et cetera? Question?
Hingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, we're on to new business. Item 8.1 is the reappointment of Rosemary Knapp to the Town of Monroe Board of Assessment Review, slot number 2, which expires 9/30/2025.
Second that motion.
Yeah, I made the motion, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Call the question?
Hingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Okay. Item 8.2 is I'll make a motion to approve the reappointment of Laura Fernandez to the Town of Monroe Board of Assessment Review, slot number 3, to expire 9/30/2025.
Cologne, a second.
Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. The other item on that topic is, I just want to thank Paulette Brown. She resigned from the Board of Assessment Review, so we do presently have a slot open. So if anyone's interested, you have to be a Monroe resident. It could be an employee who's a Monroe resident, since the majority now is 2/3 who aren't Monroe employees. So we're looking for somebody. So if you live in Monroe and you want to contribute, there is a small stipend associated with it, and it's essentially 2 or 3 meetings throughout the year to discuss certiaries, reductions in taxes. Okay. Item 8.3, Sisters of the Apostolate. Mr. Morganti, how are you? Good.
How the rest of you also board?
You know,
Yeah,
you guys that were here for the rental thing, I mean, you don't have to hang, I mean, listen.
Listen.
You're free to leave.
No, we've had worse walk out on us, don't worry. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you,
down.
guys.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You want guys like that?
Is it all right if I approach the board? I have some
Sure,
documents.
come on up.
I will present it from the easel that's set up.
Wait. Hand those out and then talk. So you're on the record. Mike, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I got Rick on my side, you guys.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna help, yeah, right?
So my name is Michael Morgante. I am the project.
Have to, Mike, just sit down or?
Gotta sit down with the mic so we can.
Let me at least just put this up first. Sorry if I remove my mask, it's just easier to speak. So good evening, Mr. Cardone and town board members. My name is Michael Morgante. I am the engineer that's representing this application that is currently before this town board for consideration of adoption in the CCR floating district that was recently, I believe, passed as a local law. I also have with me tonight Mr. Keith Leibolt, I believe is on my left, from Affordable Housing Concepts, and on my right, I believe I have Bill O'Connor from Parish Properties Management. They will be the developers of this potential project that is before the board, all right? So what I've handed out to you just moments ago are some concept site plan sketches. And so what you see here are, or I should say, what you see here is a parcel that is located between Mansion Ridge Golf Course and essentially Sapphire Elementary School. It's located off of Harriman Heights Road, and the parcel contains roughly about 89 acres. The parcel is bisected by Harriman Heights Road. On the southerly portion of Harriman Heights Road, you have an existing parcel there. It's about 51.6 acres. On the northern parcel, you have it contains about 34.3 acres. And then there's a little small triangular piece to the right of that that has about 3.22 acres. All said and done, we have a little bit over 89 acres associated with this particular site. The site is currently owned by the Sisters of the Catholic Apostolate. There is a convent, as many of you probably are aware of, that is located on the eastern portion of the southern site. The southern site also has a New York State DEC wetland that we have recently had delineated, and a wetland map validation was provided to us from the New York State DEC. That is Mike Fratson. So right here is essentially where I'm pointing with my laser pointer is that New York State DEC wetland. This location right here on the map is essentially the current convent. And then in this location here, roughly where I'm pointing with my laser pointer, there's an existing wastewater treatment plant there. That wastewater treatment plant had served in the past a military academy that was located in the central portion of the site where I'm highlighting right here. It would receive wastewater from this particular academy and the convent, and it would discharge into this New York State DEC wetland. There is a speedies permit for the discharge of this wastewater. This plant is currently in operation still today. It is a secondary wastewater treatment plant. It has pretty stringent effluent limits for what's allowed to be discharged into this DEC wetland. It's currently permitted for 20,000 gallons per day. It's only currently utilizing about an average of about 3,500 gallons a day. That being the reason because that dormitory no longer exists. So, and on the northern portion of this site over here, it was originally, from what I understand, speaking with Sister Olivia from the Sisters of the Catholic Apostolate, was the original convent location. There were several buildings that were located on this portion of the site here that date back to 1912, actually. On this northern portion of the site, there's also a little maintenance garage that currently the sisters utilize, as well as the Vincent Pilati Center in this location right here. There's also a wastewater treatment plant associated with this particular northern parcel, located where my laser pointer is showing you right now. That particular wastewater treatment plant also has a speedies permit. It's permitted for 25,000 gallons per day. That plant in itself probably sees on an average about 4,000 gallons a day of usage. So there's a lot of excess capacity associated with these two particular wastewater treatment plants, which makes this a pretty unique site. Going back to the southern site, there's also an existing public water supply well that was developed back when the military academy was there. There's a developed public water supply well in this location here that exists for the convent, and there are actually two public water supply wells, one being in this location right here at the top of the knoll where I'm pointing, and one in this general location down here in the western portion of the northern site. So again, a very unique property that actually has existing sewage disposal capabilities with a lot of excess capacity, as well as public water supply wells that have been proven over the years to be able to produce proper water for these particular properties. So that in itself gives you a basic idea of what the existing conditions are on the site. You'll see in gray here, there's various little road networks that led at some point to an existing building that was there. In the northwestern portion of the site here, there's an Army Corps of Engineers wetland that we've had flagged and mapped. I'm also showing a town of Monroe 100-foot buffer that's associated with that particular wetland. Mansion Ridge would lie to the west over here, just off the property map on this side, and again, Sapphire would sit to the east on that side, just to give you an idea and an orientation of where we are. So that pretty much outlines the existing conditions that are associated with this particular project, and at this point, I'm just going to get up for a second and change the board to some of the proposed development that we're showing the board tonight on this project. I have my trusty assistant, Keith Leibold, helping me here tonight. Option 1 is perfect, yeah. So as you can see on this particular plan that is before you, this would be sheet number 2 also on the little site plan package or the drawing package that I provided to you. On the southern site, what you'll see here is a horseshoe-style shaped building. That building right now, as proposed, would constitute approximately 100 senior housing units. What you see here is an access. There are actually 2 access points off of Harriman Heights Road. It should be noted that those access points are actually existing access points that were there when this site was originally used as the military academy. We will ultimately, as we flesh out the details of this plan, at some point meet with the Orange County Department of Public Works because Harriman Heights Road is a county road, so we would need to get these 2 locations approved, but we would be putting the cart before the horse if we didn't at least have this conversation first with the town board. So those are 2 existing points, and what you can see here is a semi-loop road that comes in and out of the site. What we've done is we've allocated a few parking spaces along the frontage of the building. They'll be required for ADA and other accessibility issues. But a majority of the parking we've attempted to locate like somewhat behind into the side of the building in order to provide screening via the building from the road. There would be an existing little roundabout in the front of the building. We'd have a little canopy that would come out and allow not participants, but people visiting the site to have better access to the building. We have some patios that are shown to the rear of the site. And the topography lays such that the stormwater management areas could be placed more on the western portion of the site. We would design those to meet New York State DEC Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan requirements, so they would not only capture and treat the quality of the stormwater runoff, but they would also manage the volume or the runoff rate of the stormwater runoff. It's pretty convenient because where the building would be situated, the wastewater treatment plant lies pretty much directly to the south of it. So it'd be a fairly easy connection from this proposed building to that particular wastewater treatment plant. And just again, I'll highlight over here with my laser pointer, the wastewater treatment plant's basically right there. And within the front green area here, and by the way, we're leaving this area green, there's a lot of existing mature trees on this site. And it's our goal to try to preserve as many of these existing mature trees as possible. So we've also kind of designed this entry loop here so that we would preserve a lot of this green area that's in the front with the existing trees, but there happens to be the public water supply well also located within the front of that particular green area. So again, good locations. I mean, the proposed building would sit in a location that the military academy used to sit. So what we're doing is we're trying to utilize a lot of the existing develop, and essentially rather than replan this whole thing, we're actually trying to reutilize it and do a redevelopment plan, if that would make sense the way I've just described that. So that in a nutshell kind of describes how the southern portion of the site would function and flow. This would be what we would be looking at for what we would say phase one of this project. Phase one would be particularly the senior housing complex, the wastewater connection, the water, the public water supply well development plan, any traffic impacts, stormwater, so on and so forth. Everything would be allocated or included on the southern portion only of this parcel. But the CCR floating zone requires that you do what's called a master development plan. So what we've tried to prepare for the board's view tonight is ultimately what we would like to look at for the northern parcel. The northern parcel, we have a couple of different site plan options that we can go through with the board for your consideration, and we can discuss further if you have any questions. But in general, the northern site as shown here would have two multifamily buildings located in this central portion of the site that's shown here where I'm highlighting with my laser pointer. These would be essentially three-story buildings, but about one story would actually be buried in the front and exposed in the back. So only 2 stories would be exposed in the front. They would consist of various 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. We would allocate those bedroom units to be consistent with whatever is required in the master development plan. We would have parking located in the front with adequate screening around it, and there's also some additional parking located to the rear of the building. We've situated the building such that we are doing the best we can to protect the town of Monroe 100-foot buffer that's associated with the Army Corps of Engineer wetland. And again, utilizing a prior area where buildings existed so that we are reutilizing the site and redeveloping the site in that aspect. The other thing that you could see here in this particular site plan option, just to have a different mix of potential residential style uses, for lack of a better way of describing it, would be 4 townhouse little units shown here on the southwestern portion of the site. Each building would contain 4 units. Each unit would have about 3 bedrooms. We've shown parking there again behind building number 6 to try to utilize the building itself to screen. That particular parking and building townhouse unit there is actually built kind of into the side of the slope or the hill there, again to blend it in with the environment. Again, these are components of the master development plan that are suggested when designing. There's certain guidelines that we can follow. And what you'll see here is that proposed buildings 4, 5, and 7 do have some parking in the front. However, what we've done is tried to allocate them almost in between the buildings a little bit while they are still in the front so that we can screen them with plenty of landscaping. Each individual townhouse unit will also have its own garage. So we've shown these particular townhouse units. We've shown these multifamily buildings here. And then what we've done is also shown potential reserve parkland, and in this particular case, a town soccer field that's located in the southwestern corner of the project site. That area there happens to be pretty flat. It would make a good location for a soccer field. There wouldn't be much grading or disturbance associated with that particular construction. And there's its own little separate parking lot you can see adjacent to it that would house whatever vehicles come for games and whatnot for parking and for normal town use. So this is the plan that you see here before you, which I would refer to as site plan option 1. And I will segue, if that's okay with the town board, into site plan option 2 at this point. So I'm sorry if I'm giving you all a lot of information in one shot. I know I am. I'd be glad to go over it again. I wanted to first talk about the site plan, then I'm going to put up what the buildings will look like in terms of the renderings, okay? And I'll go through that also. So as you can see on page 3, which we're calling site plan option number 2, the southern parcel is remaining pretty much intact as it was in terms of its design layout with respect to site plan option 1. There's really no change whatsoever for the senior housing complex. But you'll note that on the northern parcel, what is done here is we've eliminated the townhouse option there. We've just proposed one additional multifamily building. We've allocated all of this development to the southwestern portion of the northern lot. We're maintaining a lot of green area behind this development. There's also a community building that's associated with this particular option. There's no soccer field associated with this particular option. However, the alternate idea would be that the balance of the property here could potentially be utilized as parkland for the town. So what you have here is essentially just a different layout in a different location of this particular parcel for the town to consider. Again, flows from both the site plan option 1 and/or site plan option 2 would go to the existing sewage disposal system located in the northeastern portion of the site behind the Vincent Pilati Center. And in this particular option, the Vincent Pilati Center would remain along with the existing maintenance garage. It's located in the central portion of the site. Majority of the green area would be maintained in this particular option. It's worth noting, let me see if I can remember the percentages off the top of my head. On the southern site, I believe there would be 66% open space area. I believe the MDP calls for 65. And on the northern site, I think site plan option 1 is around 74% open space. Maybe, no, actually take that back, 81% open space. And site plan option 2, I think, is about 74%. So we're exceeding the open space requirements in both options. We've taken great care to try to situate all the buildings and locations that were previously utilized to more or less redevelop the site as opposed to develop it from scratch. And in essence, what this does for us also is it helps us to maintain proper buffers, both visually and environmentally, from all the important resources that are located on the site. So that, in essence, is a general summary of my presentation before you. And at this point now, what I can do also is put up some boards that show the different styles of buildings, and we can take a look at that also. And then I will turn it over to Mr. Leibold and Mr. O'Connor to give their presentation to you also. You might want to take the other ones down or they may fall. Yeah, see if we can find this one. It's actually, they stapled it with option 2 up front. Doesn't really matter. So that one, yeah. Yeah, follow this. This is what they have. I think I have them in the same order as this. So what you have before you here essentially would be those 3 multifamily buildings. This would be the first sheet that you have on your 13 by 19s, and that's just a larger 24 by 36 rendering of what you've got shown before you. These essentially are the 3 buildings that will be located along the western side of the northern parcel.
Option number 1.
This is actually option number 2. This is actually option number 2, which you're looking at. So these would be the 3 buildings that are located on the western side of the northern parcel. So if you go to sheet 3 and you look at the buildings that are all the way on the left-hand side of the northern parcel, right in that area right there, That's what you're looking at on your first sheet.
Where's the community?
The community center, well, this is a view standing from, just on the other side of it. You're just in front of it. Correct. The next one is kind of just another perspective of those buildings that are shown along that sideline there. Just a different perspective of where we're looking from. And if you go to sheet 3 of your renderings, you'll actually see an aerial view, what is sometimes referred to as a top-down view. And in there, you'll see actually where the community building is located, and we've got walking paths located behind there with all kinds of vegetation. And it gives you an idea of what it'll look like with the horseshoe-shaped building on the southern site also. Yes?
Are these going to be rentals, co-ops?
I'll have Mr. Leibolt and Mr. O'Connor discuss that part of it when they come up, if that's okay. I'll have Mr. Leibolt and Mr. O'Connor discuss that aspect of this when they come up. So this is what you're looking at now, which would be the third sheet of your rendering, which is just an aerial view, try to give you an idea of the overall aspect of the project. And in this particular one here, you'll see the community building shown in the front, along with the 3 buildings on the western property line, and the horseshoe-shaped senior housing building right there. This is essentially the same particular rendering. It's just a different vantage point to give you an idea of what it looks like from a different angle. We've taken great care to try to articulate the facades of all the buildings, using different colors, breaking up the long frontage with certain portions that stick out, having gabled ends, changing roof lines. So that's a perspective on the overall for site plan option 2. And then the next particular one that's in your little rendering package that Keith will put up are actually the 2 multifamily buildings. Now this is site plan option 1 we're looking at. These are the 2 multifamily buildings that are located on the northern lot all the way in the center portion of the site. So if you are, that's it. I'll orient you on your site plan. If you're on sheet 2, you are located right where Keith's pointing. Yep, right over there. Those are the 2 buildings that you would be looking at. So again, different architectural styles here a little bit, trying to break up the facades, trying to use different colors. The next particular rendering in your package is showing a perspective view of the townhouses. Again, using different architectural styles, colors. These are located right where Keith is pointing, right in that area right there for site plan option 1.
This is on the existing sort of the build pads that were there, which was left from the demolition.
And then the final one, or the second to final one actually, is a view of the horseshoe-shaped senior housing building.
How many units were in the senior housing?
100.
100
yes.
even.
Correct. So according to the code, we have a little over 89 acres, so dividing by a half acre per unit works out to be about 178 units. In this particular case, it might sound a lot, but if you go back and think about the capacity that we have for wastewater treatment, the capacity we have for public water supply, and the fact that I'm maintaining a greater amount of open space than the MDP even requires, it's actually not so bad, it seems, in the long run. It lays out very nicely on the overall site, again, using the existing locations that were utilized in the past for previous buildings. It's a good redevelopment of the site. So this is an overall top-down view of option one, where you have the townhouses located in this area here, the multifamily buildings to the rear, the senior housing here. Again, this is phase one. We would seek to gain approvals for this if the town board is finding this a desirable project to consider. And then we would immediately come back after that is completed to pursue the phase two portion of this.
How many, you said you had about 17,000 gallons a day?
So, yes.
Southern portion where the senior housing is?
The southern portion is rated for 20,000, and we're using about 3,500, so almost 17,000 gallons a day, yeah.
How many gallons would 100 senior units?
Sure. I mean, you'd rate each bedroom at 110 gallons per day. The reality of it is actually senior housing doesn't necessarily use 110 gallons per day. It may only use as much as 50. We would still be rated at 110, but even at 110, you'd be looking at about 11,000 gallons. So we would still have reserve capacity.
Senior housing that we have presently that's on a private wastewater plant, believe it or not.
Mike, you got to come up to the mic.
I know what he's going to say because I've looked at it with him. There's a senior housing facility that they run and operate up in Wurtsboro. And again, that was probably designed for about 110 gallons per day, and 30 to 50 gallons per day per bedroom is probably what they're actually using. Seniors don't use the same amount of water necessarily as, we teenagers do. So basically, and we already had these discussions with the New York State DEC. I've reached out to them, touched base with them, shared the Speedies permit with them, discussed what the project would be. I can't really go too much further than that, unfortunately, until we really kind of dig into the process, but they're very aware of what we're looking to do here.
Great presentation.
Oh, thank you very much.
Anybody have any specific questions this evening?
Yeah, I mean, so, thank you very much. It was a great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to hear from the developers now? Is that the?
It would be probably a good idea for me to
You want to
introduce.
hold our questions to the end and then?
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll kind of, this way we're not stepping on their presentation, which I think will probably cover some of our answers.
Hey, like 50.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow.
Good evening.
Evening.
Supervisor Cardone, members of the board. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our application to you. My name is Bill O'Connor. I'm one of the developers. Mike forgot to mention my brother John O'Connor, who's also one of our developers and is putting up a fair amount of money for this, so I didn't want to forget him. One of our development partners are the sisters themselves. And we just wanted to give you a little bit of background on the project and try and give you a sense as to, briefly, its history and where we are today and what our intent is. Keith Leibold is currently our partner down in Rockland County, building a very similar project to this one. We're using it kind of as our model. It's also for another group of Catholic nuns, and it's kind of given us a plan and a strategy going forward. I'm very familiar with this property. I first started working in Monroe when I built Sacred Heart Church back in the early 90s, I believe that was. I was then working for the Catholic Archdiocese of New York as a structural engineer. Mike Morganti actually is a fellow Manhattan College alum, although I just met him to start this project. The sisters approached me in 2006. They had a deal going with Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers basically abandoned the deal. They were going to construct things similar to what you see on the corners of Mansion Ridge. They asked me at that point, I had left the Archdiocese and had a consulting practice, what we could do to develop the property. Of course, in 2008, nobody was developing anything. But I talked to them because one of the issues that the former developer had was that the prior buildings were, quote, full of asbestos, needed to be environmentally remediated and torn down. So I felt it was in the sisters' best interest to take down the buildings, remove the asbestos, and at least take that question mark out for any future development. During that time, a lot of things happened here in town. Property was rezoned. The sisters approached me again about 5 years ago and said, is there any market to do something with the property? But they had some very specific demands. They really wanted to do something that had use for the greater community, not just the community of sisters. They've had a legacy in this town for many decades. Many of you know them better and longer than I do. And they wanted to make sure that whatever we did would have a legacy to the sisters. Therein lies the name of our development, Pilati Village, named after the founders of the Sisters of the Catholic Apostolate. And we were very excited to work with them and tell them that we wanted to build senior housing. I find it humorous that we're talking about how much water seniors use, because when I was making that same remark to the sisters, one of them commented, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 56. "Well, you're eligible, pal." So I did not know that, but I was painfully made aware of it, that senior housing, at least as is defined by New York State and its funding programs, begins at 55. And we are mindful of the fact that it is a very needed thing, not just here in Monroe, but throughout New York State. We hope to find some funding through the governor's new ESHI program, Empire State Housing Initiative, which allots a certain amount of money for projects like this. It's a supportive housing project, which means that it would also be eligible for other types of supportive housing, which we would be happy to engage the town in, and allot a certain number of residents for those things that would help, quote, the greater community. And again, that is at the desires and wishes of the sisters, who we do want to honor. We're going to develop the property. We did ask the sisters to become the beneficial owner afterwards and to operate the property. They do not wish to. Because of their dwindling numbers, and the fact, as one of them said, by the time you build this, we'll be dead. I hope that's not true, but the truth of the matter is they're really not going to be in a position to manage a large property like this. But there are a lot of other agencies, not-for-profit agencies, that we're going to be engaging. We're already talking to one of them, so that long-term this is going to continue to be an affordable housing project. And I wanted to make sure you understood that, because you asked, are these going to be rentals? They're going to be rentals that will comply with the state's affordable housing criteria for these types of tax credit deals. If we wanted to get into more in the specifics, I'll let my partner, Keith Leibold, address it, but I thought that at least gave you a thumbnail sketch of who we are, what we want to do, and what the long-term use of the project will be. And with that, unless you have any specific questions for me, I'd like to invite Keith up and to give you a little bit more background on what we're trying to do here. Thank you.
Hi, and good evening. So when we set out to develop this parcel...
State your name for the...
Sure. My name is Keith Leibold. I'm the president and owner of AHC. We are multifamily housing builders primarily. We do 100 to 200 units a year of various types of multifamily housing. We just, right now, we have a couple of net zero housing, mixed-use buildings that we're building. We just wrapped up a mill conversion up in Johnson City, New York. We finished up, we're in the process of finishing a market rate mixed-use multifamily building in New Paltz, New York that's net zero energy. It's carbon neutral. We're doing a scattered site renovation project that's Energy Star Plus in the city of Newburgh in conjunction with a nonprofit called Rubco. And we work in the tri-state area just doing all sorts of types of sustainable and affordable housing around the state. I've known Bill and the sisters for probably 20 years. We keep in touch on and off. We work with various nonprofits on coming up with sustainable redevelopment plans. And I love sites like this because you had a site that was previously developed. We talked to just some community stakeholders, took some walks on the property, talked with the sisters, came up with a couple of options for the town. Thought there might be a need for a town soccer field, so we have that in this option here. Walked the, how do you turn this on, Mike? Oh, there it is. We walked the site, and this area up here is just really beautiful. I don't know if you've been up to the site lately. You should take a drive up there. And so one of the ideas was that we leave this as, town parkland. So that's why we did this option 2 for the board to review, because if you decided that, hey, we really like this and want this just to be a parkland area, that's great. If not, and you really feel like the community is better served with a soccer field down here, this plan sort of varies the housing types. I did want to clarify that in accordance with the floating zone, there's various types of housing here. So this building is slated to be affordable senior housing. These buildings are not slated to be affordable housing. These would be for rent high-end townhomes, and these would just be regular market rate apartments. We would try with these 2 buildings to get them near net zero because it stabilizes the utility bills long-term, which helps stabilize the rents, which helps keep the local seniors who are struggling in the community. Same with these buildings here. These townhouses would be Energy Star townhouses, but we're doing a study to see if I can get them to net zero, which would involve some geothermal and some other solar technologies. Not sure we can get there with these buildings. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask us about anything relating to the site plan that I can answer?
Do we want to go in particular order, or?
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you for coming. It's quite the plan, and definitely fills a lot of potential needs that we have. And of course, love the system. We want to try to help them out. That's important. All right, guys. I'll start kind of from the top here. So the senior housing, did you say that's 100 units?
Approximately 100 units.
Approximately 100. And how do you envision those? Are those going to be assisted living? They're going to be not assisted? Is it going to be graduated? What's your thoughts on that?
So these would be independent senior living. Now, we will program space into the buildings for community use that, say, someone, the people who live in the community may desire to have some housekeeping services or some meal services. We'd allow outside organizations to come in and provide that services so people can stay in their houses as long as possible. So although we don't provide that as a service, because under the affordable housing guidelines that would be an assisted living center, we can provide the space for an organization to come in. Could be a community organization, Meals on Wheels. Could be something that's just done ad hoc internally to provide meals and housekeeping, 1, 2, 3 days a week as people have need.
And are you square footage apartment? Is it like 1 bedroom and a den, or are you 2 bedrooms? What are you looking at?
Yeah, we'll mix it up.
In the senior, yeah.
Yeah. So like in this particular senior building here, we normally have 1 bedroom. Some have a den. We will have a few, possibly 2-bedroom units. The demand lately, over the past 5 years, for affordable senior living, independent living, has been to 1 bedrooms, some units with a den. And in a building this large, we might actually have a guest unit. So we might actually do like 98 affordable units, a guest unit, and a supers unit, because you have an on-site superintendent here.
Square footage?
Square footage, I don't know if the town has a regulation on the maximum footage for a senior apartment. We like to build these around 700 square feet for a 1-bedroom, 800 for a 1-bedroom with a den.
So with the multifamily, how many, with option 1, how many bedrooms, but that's not going to be, you're not talking about that being affordable housing, you're talking market rate for the whole thing?
This across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe, what the floating zone asks for is a diversity and mix of housing. So What we're asking for in phase one is just to get this approved, but to do the seeker on the master plan. And as soon as we can get this worked out, this plan actually fits into what's on the site. If you go drive on that site, there's already these two entrances in place. There's already a large field here, and there's already an area here where the previous building was. This building slots in almost perfectly into that. I think maybe we'd take down 10 or 12 trees for the whole thing. It just fits really nice. So we wanted to get through this site plan. That allows us to go to the state and begin to look for funding. This is a little bit more of a sensitive area, and I think, my opinion is, that the planning board will want to take a little bit more time, will want to go out on the site, or the town board, and make sure that these buildings actually fit into the topography well. Because if you drive into this area, there's defined areas where you can see something was built there, and we'd like to get these back in that area and leave the rest of this area as green space, because it's really bucolic and it's wonderful just to walk through that area. It's just really a nice site. There's an existing, if you go on the site, there's an existing metal service building right here, and we're just going to drop these two buildings. You'll see where, I don't know what was there, but there was something right there, that we would just put these two buildings right there. The rest of the site would just stay wooded. The soccer field down here is already cleared. There's an area for a parking lot. It fits, you can't see it in this image, it just fits really well in there.
What are the proposed square footage for the townhouses?
We didn't actually get, Michael, do you know?
That footprint's about 14,000 square feet per building.
Per building, there's 4 units. So you'd figure like 2,800 square feet.
The townhouses are about 5,300.
Yeah,
The multifamilies are about 14,000.
okay.
How many in the multifamily?
These would be 12 units per floor, so it'd be 30?
Yes.
30, like
What we have shown there on that portion over there, the multi-story family buildings, the multifamily buildings would have 8 one-bedroom, 2 two-bedrooms, and 2 three-bedroom units per floor.
So it's 12 per floor, so there's 2 floors, which is 24, and in the back, you have some single-entry apartments, which some people don't like to go into a hallway. They want to have their own entry in and out. So we like to, when we have a tow hill like that, you build some units that can enter into the back, and then in the other half of the basement, you do side entrances. You provide resident storage, like a 6x10, let you put a motorcycle, a canoe, whatever you want to store in there for the winter.
You're not envisioning any amenities as far as like a pool, tennis court, basketball court with this option here with the rental units, you know?
We didn't get that far into it. The senior building does have physical fitness facilities, a community room. We usually have a gathering room, and we've learned that seniors love to cook together, and so you have wine and cooking classes, and believe it or not, that's like a fun Friday evening for them. They'll come out, they kibitz, they have a little wine, they cook together. It's really a nice option. Over here, these are more going to be like long-term family residents. People come into the area, they have a job, maybe they don't want to buy, they want to lease long-term. That's the idea with these. These have garages. It's a higher-end rental. They're larger units, maybe 2,200 square feet each, plus the garage, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. These over here are 1s, 2s. We have a couple of 3s per building. We'll actually do a little bit of market and see if the 3s are warranted. So the 2 bedrooms run, the 1 bedrooms run around 700. The 2 bedrooms run between 900 and 1,100. The 3 bedrooms run around 1,400.
Is it possible you can give us an Excel sheet with the breakdown of the
Sure.
actual apartments for each?
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
square footage? That would make it so much easier.
Absolutely.
Um,
We can certainly add amenities to this side of the road.
I'm just thinking of other rental projects that are going on, like down in Sloatsburg and stuff, where they have a golf simulator, their pool, although none of that stuff is there. But I mean, it's all promised on the.
Well, that's for
And listen, I'm not in the competition business. You know what your business is. But I'm just trying to think of things that.
So it's
that are going to take up additional building space there and may cut down on the open space. That's kind of what
Mr. McGinn, I'm a golfer, and I would love nothing better to build another golf course, but one, we got one in the
You can take the,
neighborhood.
you can take the mask off.
Number two, we are looking at the sisters' request to keep these affordable.
Right.
So these are rents, really, that are going to be calculated by the state. And so the amenities, while we want to put certainly as many as the state will allow us under their budgeting guidelines, we're capped by that, at least under phase one.
When you're saying the state, are you referring to the senior, or are you referring to the regular
Under the
rental
ESHI
units?
program, which we're going to utilize to help underwrite the funding of the project.
The
They're very
entire
spec-
project, or?
No, a piece of it. I mean, some of it's going to be used from tax credits, some of it private money, but there's very specific criteria. And that's not to say that amenities can't be included, but something along these lines, typically tennis courts, swimming pools, and things like that for these senior affordable housing projects don't typically get included in it. Now, if the phase two is something and the market picks up, I think we're all a little bit spooked about where the real estate market is going post-COVID, particularly.
Well, over here, you don't have to worry about that.
It's going up here, but
correct.
for density housing and assisted living and nursing homes, it's changing on the fly. The healthcare regulations are changing. People who require care are now looking to do it in their own homes. So one of the things we're looking at truly, as you mentioned before about space in the affordable senior, is to allow the ability for visiting nurses to come in and assist these people, even though it's independent housing. My mom lived independently until she was 87, but we still had nurses coming in to visit her. So I think that's the model we're envisioning for at least phase one, which is the part that we've done a lot of integratable, funding Excel spreadsheets for. Phase two, we're still a little bit trying to follow where the market is going to take us. You may be very right. This market may be very robust in the next 5 years with people fleeing from New York City, and if that's the case, that'll be great. And then, we'll put up the golf simulators and the tennis courts and invite them up here and hopefully generate some property taxes.
Well, I
Can
have
I ask you?
Go ahead, Mike.
I just got one more question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So, what is the state funding that you're looking for the senior? What's the AMI or the percentage of the AMI that
I think it's
qualifies
60,
them?
right, Keith? Is it? You want to take this one? I'll let him take that.
Just to directly answer your question, the affordable housing is for phase one. Phase two is market rate. I didn't want to take too much liberty with starting to add accessory structures because I told Michael when we were doing this, I said the planning board is going to want to say something. And like literally you could take a golf cart from here and drive up to the golf course, the driving range. So those types of amenities are there. This property is very rocky. And I just didn't want to start showing things. We can certainly start taking up landscape to put in a basketball court or to put in a tennis court. But if we have a town soccer field here, you've got golf and other things there. The sisters have a youth center right here that's already built that have interior facilities. So, yeah, so we're kind of like thinking, okay, maybe an adder is we talk to the sisters about the community center and see if we can get some youth programs going. But I didn't want to go that deep tonight. If you want me to come back next month and start going there, I'll be happy to do that.
Certainly when you submit.
Sure. Yeah.
So what is the AMI?
The AMI for the seniors ranges from 40 to 60% of median income. So for a one or two family, it's going to, one or two person household, it's going to vary depending on who's there. I was going to say 87 comes to mind, might be 80. So you're looking at rents in the senior apartment with utilities somewhere in the, I'm just going to be off the top of my head, so don't hold me to the exact number, somewhere between $700 and $900.
Is there
So we'll come up with a marketing plan, and that marketing plan will begin 100 feet from this property line and spin out into circles. So to the extent that the local organizations will take applications from us and provide a list, so we'll start with 1 mile from the site, then we'll go 2 miles, then 5 miles, then 10 miles.
Obviously, so you guys are building this, but you have no intention of running it and staying on?
So, no, we absolutely want to have long-term ownership in conjunction with a nonprofit, but to actually manage senior housing, I have a property management division as part of our company who would interact with them, but me personally, I'm not going to be the guy there. But we are on every building I own, I visit at least 3 times a year. We're pretty stringent with our maintenance, and we make sure whatever person is providing the management here, I give out my cell phone number, and sometimes my wife hates me for it.
Obviously, when you say nonprofit, we just want to make sure that the right nonprofit would come in here.
Absolutely,
And,
yes.
we're,
Well, we're going to have a large investment in this. We're going to want to protect our investment. I want to be upfront with that. It's not like this is a free ride for us. I mean,
Rockland is your,
the building that we just finished, one building, and I don't know if it's in the portfolio. I just finished one at Hyanga Lake, which is called Clarkstown Seniors. I did 2 phases there. One is a 64-unit building. We just finished the second phase, which is a 40-unit building. That building is an Energy Star Plus building. And then we're building now one for our Sisters of Charity, which is over on, is it Convent Road?
Convent Road, 140 Convent Road.
140 Convent
yeah.
Road. If you want to come down and see it, I'll give you a tour of both buildings. You can have a look at them. It's just on the edge of Nanuet. If you would like to see one of our market rate structures, you can come up to New Paltz. We're finishing a net zero energy building. It's really cool. You can come up and see what that looks like. We also have a net zero energy building in Highland, New York. That's 20 units. It's on the walkway over the Hudson. It's a lovely building. And we have a middle income building in New Windsor, New York. I could take you to see that one. That's a bit closer. Wurtsboro, we had a building, a senior building that we built down, a hotel burned right up from Danny's Steakhouse, and it's on Sullivan Street. Danny's Steakhouse is my marker in Wurtsboro. And they wanted us to rebuild the hotel look and do a senior housing building up there for Wurtsboro residents. I just love the people up there. It's a great building. That building, we had a sewer treatment plant up there.
I don't want to cut you short. We got
It's okay.
a bunch of items still left on the agenda. Rick or Mary, did you have any questions?
Mine will take quite a bit, so I'll cut it right to the chase. A number of times, well, first you had mentioned that you have a lot invested in this project,
Yes.
and you will be. May I remind you that all of us here on the board, as well as everybody in Monroe, have a lot invested in their home, and they want to see that value kept. A number of times you had made mention of affordable housing.
Yes.
That, to me, is a loud ring.
Oh, excuse me, what?
It's a bellwether to me.
Oh.
And what that says to me is that when you say affordable housing, how are you going to determine who lives where and what? In other words, are you going to have specific guidelines for the affordable housing?
Well, yes.
And you said for senior.
Yes.
That I understand.
Okay.
But I'm saying when you have rental apartments, how does that work?
Well, the rental apartments are market rate. They're not affordable housing.
Okay.
They're market rate apartments.
Right.
These apartments the rents for these units would be upwards of $2,000 a month. The rent for these units would be between $2,000 and $3,000 a month.
My other worry is, and I'll keep it very brief, but it's a very big concern, is when you have rentals, I always worry about the rental company that manages it, because we've had an instance where one area started out, I believe, as a condo, and now is mostly rental, and it's an issue. So I want to make sure that we get the right people to manage it.
Sure.
and to maintain a certain level, because I think that the lifestyle in Monroe, people want to maintain that level of lifestyle.
So our company will manage the market rate apartments personally, but the affordable senior housing.
Senior housing, I
Yeah.
understand.
That has a special.
I have no problem with that.
Okay. Yeah.
My question has to do with water. You're not going to be using any municipal water. All the water is going to be supplied by the wells that are on your property.
Correct.
Are you going to make a water district, or are you going to keep it like a what do they call that?
Transportation Corporation?
Transportation Corporation, thank you. You have to come to the mic.
We take no exception. It's whatever the town would like us to do,
Okay,
we're happy to do.
okay. In the senior housing, are there going to be elevators?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's a valid
That's a
question.
very
It's
good
very
point.
valid
Yeah,
question.
but seriously, but seriously, do you think they'd build a 2 or 3 story building without?
You never know.
You never know.
Yes,
What
people
is it
have.
going to be, a ramp that goes around slowly and goes
You
up?
never know.
You never know.
Stranger things.
Never assume.
Look at,
Yeah, for a building this size, there would be
That's across
2
from the
or
trooper
3
barracks.
elevators,
Yeah.
probably 2.
Wow, that's different.
That's true. That's a good point.
That's not senior. That's
Yeah,
not
it's-
real senior housing.
yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, Council, do you want to say anything?
I think it was already mentioned, you obviously understand the requirements, you've looked at the CCR zone for the special planning district, and, so obviously there's requirements in there, the prioritization of building and preserving the environmentally constrained areas and so on. So if you've already looked at that, I don't think I need to tell you, so it's all in there. And it looks like, so far I'm not looking at the maps, but that you've taken those criteria into consideration.
I mean, really, I guess at this point, it's, you got to make application, kind of, hone in on some of the things that we discussed here, and then.
Does the board have can I just ask, does the board have a preference? Would they prefer a soccer field dedicated to the town or a park?
My personal feeling is soccer field to the town, but I also like that layout versus 4 buildings straight across. To me, that just looked too stoic.
We did that because there were foundations. And
Oh, and I get it.
I know the property,
Yeah.
I know what's over there.
We did
yeah.
it perpendicular to the road, so as you drove by, you'd only see the end
Yeah.
of one
I
building.
mean, just so you know, those buildings, in the top one next to the parking lot?
This one here?
No, where you were.
Yeah.
No, go to the right. Yeah, that parking lot, and there was a church there. My brother-in-law got married in that church.
Did he?
So, and it was gorgeous. And Ward, you had to be in the church, right?
Is he still married?
No, he's not.
Oh, well, build on it then.
Well, yeah, he's remarried.
It's bad luck.
So we'll submit with this option.
Yeah.
Okay,
Won't be living in, that's,
Yeah, exactly.
thank you.
thank you.
All
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you all.
Gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. It's a very exciting
Yeah, it's a
prospect.
great project.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, Al, you're up next. Food Truck Fridays.
Oh, yeah. Truck Friday. So,
Thank you again, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
thank you, guys.
Good evening. Safe home.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
So I guess due to the COVID pandemic, our food truck festivals have been canceled for this year. So we came up with the idea of having Food Truck Fridays, which started last Friday at Town Hall. We'll have a different truck every Friday till further notice, till the weather allows us to, I would imagine. Give some of these food trucks who've been kind of out of business a little opportunity to serve lunch to town residents. And I think last Friday went very successful. We'll continue it this Friday and until further notice. So come out and support it and help some of these food trucks put food on their tables.
Okay.
Great idea. Awesome.
Yeah, so we have a resolution that I'd like the board to pass tonight. So I would like to make a motion Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Monroe approves Food Truck Fridays beginning mid-September through the end of December 2020 from 11 a.m. through 3 p.m. Setup begins at 9:30, cleanup until 3:30. Liabilities insurance is required. Participating vendor named the Town of Monroe as additional insured. Orange County Department of Health permit is also required, and food truck fee payable to the Town of Monroe, $45 per truck or $25 fee if it is a veteran-owned food truck and proof of status is necessary. Also, if the hours are doubled, there will be a $90 charge per truck. Paperwork will be submitted and reviewed for completeness by Anne Marie Morris, Department Head for Town Parks.
I'll second.
The second. Any questions? No? Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ankarello, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm hungry.
Just so, let me tell you, it was good this Friday. I know Dan was there, right?
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
He's a food truck junkie.
We got some good trucks coming.
Yeah, so I'll let Sal speak on that.
We got Carrera's sausage and peppers will be this Friday.
Oh, they're good.
The Friday after that, I believe it will be the taco truck that's in Harriman, Taco Pollo. I do know November 6th, I will make the announcement that the Cousins Maine Lobster truck will be there.
And Cousins Maine Lobster Truck will be there from 11 a.m. to at least 7 p.m.
At least 7, or until he
Yeah.
sells out again like he did at our last food truck. So we're working on a few other trucks to get them there for, I believe, the 23rd of October and the 30th of October as well.
Get like a German theme thing for Oktoberfest going.
You got it, Councilman McGinn.
The Wiener Schnitzel truck.
Let's
or
get the
something.
truck. You got it.
Kosher schnitzel.
Get the Wiener Schnitzel truck with
get the
the
women with
apple
the-
fritter truck. Yeah.
You know.
He did reach out to Chompers.
So, all right, good.
Oh,
He
they're
said he would come?
Well, he's thinking about it.
Oh, man. Those are really good,
That's
too.
good,
they're
yeah.
great.
Oh, man.
Well, thanks, Sal. Thanks, Anne Marie. I know you guys have
Great
worked
job,
hard on
Sal.
this.
Good work.
Okay. 8.5, Water District 12 well field improvements, the bid results and recommendations. Mary, did you want to go through that?
We got, let me see, I think it was 4 bids. Let me just pull out my right piece of paper here. Well, we have bids for electrical, and then general and mechanical. So according to McGooey Hauser Etzel, they reviewed all the bids that came in. Pantel is the one they recommend for the electrical at $129,000. Jory Excavating for the general contracting at $770,870. And TM Brennan Services for the mechanical at $107,000. And those were the recommendations.
So, motion to accept the recommendation for award of Water District 12 Wellfield Improvements Project, Contract 1E Electrical, and that's MHE, job number 13-120.5, to Pantel Electric, and that's $129,000.
I will second that motion.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Hello, aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
Oh, and just so everybody knows, I live in that water district. It's been mentioned, I live in that water district, just to make note that, it's public disclosure. I live there.
Okay, second up, I'll make a motion for the recommendation from McGooey Hauser Etzel for award of Water District 12 Wellfield Improvements Project, Contract 1G, General Construction, MHE job number 13-120.5, and that's to Jory, Jorrey Excavating Incorporated, $770,870.
I will second that motion.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Aye.
Okay, and finally, I'll make a motion, based on the recommendation from MHE, for award of Water District 12 Wellfield Improvement Project, Contract 1M, Mechanical, MHE job number 13-120.5, and that's to TM Brennan Service, Inc., and that's for $107,000.
And Bingham to second that one.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
All right?
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
And do
Okay.
we need one more motion for you to sign any contracts? Do we need any motion for you to sign anything?
Yeah, you might, yeah.
Can we just make it all together instead of one?
Motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign the contracts with the winning bidders after review by the council.
On a second.
That? Well, listen, it's my first time at this rodeo, though, Counselor. I know exactly what you want.
Got it.
All right.
Hey, you second it?
All right, Cologne a second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Oh, aye.
Good night.
Okay, so moved. All right. Next up, I'd like to table, well, I shouldn't say that. I'll discuss briefly Walton Terrace Special District. So I've been working with the members of Walton Terrace and our highway superintendent, along with some members that reside on Walton Terrace. Walton Terrace has kind of been a thorn in the side of the residents in the town over the last few years. They have about 800 feet, John? About 800-foot road that they have maintained. It really should be a town road.
That's been going on for some time. Previous administration was unable to do anything with that, and it really got me because these are good people, they're hardworking people, and they're paying a lot of money to get this done, and I support it 100%. I'm really glad it's going through.
Yeah, so Mark Etzel essentially came up with the idea of a special district. We already have a special road district, Lakeview Drive. This will go through. That being said, we'll finalize the legalities of it in the future. 8.7, sign code amendments. I'd actually like to discuss the possibility of a moratorium for our signs.
You're referring to
Larger than-
commercial signs?
Not all
or
signs, but
Larger than a specific size,
Okay.
and we could discuss that.
Not to include political signs or anything like that?
No, we want you to get elected again.
Somebody that wants it.
There's already a question for you to run again.
That's like,
What?
no, nothing.
No, nothing, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, so, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but, that's essentially what that's about. Okay, next item up is the 8.8, which is the proposed local law tax cap override. And would that be local law?
Local law number 6.
That would be local law number 6? Proposed, local. Well, we'll go into the alphabet
We're going
next
to
year.
the alphabet next year,
Like,
but
yeah, the alphabet with hurricanes, you
Yeah.
know? We're going through,
So
Better
this will
next
be
year.
local law number 6. The proposed local law number 6 will be a local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law 3-C. And essentially, it's just to protect us if we have to override the cap. And we hope not to. Okay. Question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
We got to do public hearing,
We have to do a
Right.
public hearing?
you wanna set the date?
October 5th.
I'll withdraw my original motion and make a motion to,
I thought you knew what you were doing, you just said, but.
listen, we only do the budget once a year. The other stuff we do all the time. I'll make a motion that we do have a public hearing for the proposed tax law cap override
When?
on October 5th
Works.
at 7.
Question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Stone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
And I,
Okay.
Remind the board, you can leave that public hearing open until the date at which you adopt the budget. If you do need to exceed, you'll have to adopt that local law prior to the budget.
thank you, Mr. Nugent.
Right. Item 8.9 is the proposal for air monitor testing at Water District Number 12. For some reason, there was a 2x3 or 2x4 section of floor that had some remnants or something that was asbestos related when the testing was surveyed. Well house. I'll let Mary.
Well, it probably has to do, years ago, they used to insulate pipes with some asbestos. So whether some of that at one point was taken down, fell on the ground, nobody knows, because it goes back to early 1950s probably, when this was done. There was one letter from Air Environmental Consulting. They said it was located on Carroll Lane. That's incorrect. It's Carroll Drive. And they were only saying that, it's going to cost $620 for their costs, estimated fees to have this rectified. So I'll make a motion to approve $620 for Air Environmental Consulting for, I guess it's asbestos abatement
And removal.
and removal. Thank you.
Second it. Question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Stone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 8.10 is the Round Lake Lake Management Annual Contract. It's the renewal. I'd like to make a motion to approve the annual contract for the bi-monthly inspection of the lake and treatment twice per month if needed, depending upon lake conditions and what permits allow. And that's from June through August. One, contract price is $4,607 per month. Term of this agreement, 7 months with 5 equal. Possibly algae. Try to surveys they want. Yeah, we've used them. I think it was. So I'll make that motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Ancarello, aye.
Okay, so moved. Advisor to sign.
Want to make the motion?
Bingham to second.
Question?
Oh, wait a second, it's got to be upon review of the town
the
council.
Town attorney. Yeah.
On review of the attorney,
Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Cancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. All right, next up is the Newcastle Communications Annual Support Renewal. This is for our phone system. We have a contract renewal with Newcastle, which runs from 12/14/20, which would run from 12/14/20 through 12/13/21, and the cost of that is $3,333.44. So we need approval.
Subject,
By council?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Aye.
Cancarello, aye.
Next up is the document shredding event on Halloween this year. Ooh. Okay, so that cost of that is $600. They will be at the Highway Garage from 9 to 12 on October 31st, and there will be a fee of $600 associated with that.
Make that motion.
Second? Go ahead, second? I'll second. Seconded by Councilman Cancarello. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Cancarello, aye.
Okay. Just so everyone knows that this rate for the on-site shredding truck has a capacity to hold approximately 400 copy paper-sized boxes, large and small clips, staples, spiral binders can be mixed and matched with paper for destruction. No CDs, DVDs, hard drives, or anything other than paper will be shredded. Okay. Old business, LoSAP contract. We have to approve the funding for the LoSAP program from October through December. That's 3 months at a monthly cost of $1,170. This is Lakeside's LoSAP program, which is on the ballot to be disbanded at the, but we still have to fund it through.
I'll second.
Not like we have a choice.
Yeah.
Call a question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Aye.
Cancarello, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, item 10.1, public comment. Do we have people sign up? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, Ronald Kosser, Kossar, attorney for BMG Monroe 1 LLC, the developers of the Smith Farm subdivision. I know this is not on the agenda tonight, but I was requested to appear by my client to have a discussion about it with you and bring you up to date. At the August 31 meeting, with the pending applications for the 2 bonds for the Phase 3 and 4 subdivision maps, the board raised 2 issues. The first issue was whether there was sufficient water to be supplied by the village. I was somewhat taken by surprise by that because I drafted all of the agreements. That is no longer an issue. A couple of weeks ago, I sent to Mr. Nugent a letter from Elise Terhune, the village attorney, confirming they will be providing and are obligated to provide water to the development. So I think
That's been confirmed by the village.
That's a moot issue.
Yeah.
That's issue number 1. Issue number 2 was the what was issue no? Issue number 2 was
Open space.
the open space with the Aruv. Okay?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I apologize. I
it's
lost my
okay.
train of thought. But
Well, I'm sorry,
I
because
was-
Mr. McGinn was...
he's a little giddy.
Yeah,
No,
can
no,
you
no.
say the open space construction of
No, of the Aruv.
a roof? Okay,
Okay. So we're clear on that.
okay.
Okay, and
Can you just explain what an Aruv
an
is
Aruv
for
is
those that don't know?
My understanding of an Aruv is where an observant Jew will enlarge that area in which he can essentially perform duties he otherwise wouldn't be able to perform on the Sabbath. So what they normally do, and this is primarily like in Muncie and Rockland, and Brian is well versed in this, is, and it's legal, it's a protected right. They go on to public easements, and that's all been litigated, there's no question about it. In this particular case, the distinction is they went on to private property, okay? And so there's no protected, I do not believe there's a protected right there. Because the developer doesn't have a constitutional right per se to freedom of religion. Nevertheless, I didn't know anything about this at the last meeting. Once I sunk my teeth into it and got around it, the bottom line is a letter went out today from Mr. Roseborough, the Albany litigation attorney, to Mr. Nugent. He has a copy of it, where we put the property owner through the property management company that's responsible on notice that they had 14 days from today to remove the Aruv, and if they did not, we were going to remove it. So I believe that takes that issue off the table, assuming we remove it, assuming Mr. Maldonado comes out and has a satisfactory inspection, et cetera, and all I'm requesting is that with those two points in mind, the water and the Aruv, that this matter be scheduled for the October 5th, I believe, meeting, the next meeting you have at 7 o'clock, for the board to entertain our application to fix the bonds for phase 3 and 4. Obviously, if I haven't, resolved the Aruv problem, I would notify Brian, but that will be, I'm on top of that. That will be resolved.
Could you spell that for me?
E-R-U-V.
Thank you.
So I agree with the definition. I mean, basically an Aruv is, and you may see them in other places, in other municipalities, the litigation that arose typically involves Aruvs on telephone poles. You'll see white PVC pipes, and, the rabbi usually approves that, and it allows packages and things to be carried on the Sabbath within that area that would otherwise not be permitted. As Mr. Kosser touched on, the distinction here is this is not, the developer didn't put this up, apparently residents did, but initially the developer wasn't taking any action to remove it. Today's letter changes that position and directs, through the property management, that Aruv to be taken off the open space, because the open space areas were not allowed to have any changes made to them or have, structures put on them or things of that nature. So,
Do you know why it took the developer almost 3 months to have this letter finally sent out?
well, look, I can only speak to my involvement since the last meeting, and it came up shortly before that, that it was brought up, and Mr. Kosser, in his defense, wasn't aware of it. In fact, he thought we were talking about green roofs, I believe, when me and him initially talked after the meeting. So, I don't know. I think a better question is, maybe why it wasn't addressed sooner after the last meeting when it was raised. We did receive that today. I know Mr. Rossborough has also been involved on behalf of the developer on this issue. Primarily, he seems to be the one, kind of addressing it. But in any event, at the very least, hopefully that condition will be corrected with sufficient time for Mr. Maldonado to go out and inspect. I know we're right at the wire because October 5th is the 14th day from today when that letter went out. So, hopefully it's addressed prior to that, again, because there are, as I emailed Mr. Kosser today, there's resolutions and things that rely on these approvals, and as I expressed to Mr. Kosser, I don't see much purpose if we have a stop work order and a violation that's going to continue on the subdivision as a whole, with the town proceeding with the Phase 3 and 4 bond reviews and things. However, it does appear, at least based on today's letter, that the developer has taken the position that it shouldn't be there under the approvals, and if it's removed, then, Mr. Maldonado just needs to verify that fact. We do have the numbers from the developer, and we have McGoey Hauser, Edsel, the town engineer's review of those numbers, so I don't think it would take a significant amount of time to, fix that bond on the 5th of October.
Had I known about this earlier, this would have been facilitated and resolved a lot earlier, I can assure you that. So I apologize for that, but
I just found it, I know I probably worked it solved quickly, but this happened on August 31st, and we finally got a letter today, as if we were going to put you on the agenda tonight.
Well, Jewish holidays in defense of my client, and so it may have taken an extra week.
Now, also, I think the letter, if I'm not mistaken, indicated that if the property owners did not remove the roof from the open space, that the developer would have it removed.
That's correct.
So, I don't know, again, they said 14 days, hopefully they don't decide to do it at 11 p.m. on the 5th.
I'm not waiting. I'm going to try to precipitate the removal by the owner a lot sooner than the 14 days. I mean, by the unit owner.
Now, is there any sort of guarantee that these won't be placed up again?
You can't, the developer will not allow it to be placed up again. So if they're placed up again, the developer will remove it. I cannot with certainty tell you that a unit owner won't try to put a roof up, but I think they got the message. Okay, I really do. And they were aware this letter was coming. It's not like it's going to be a shock to them.
Because there's been a couple of people that have gone up there and have been told to leave. Because they're property. One woman actually buy a home in here. Buy a home in here.
Anybody is eligible to make inquiry and buy the home. You could buy a home, I could buy a home. So if the lady is interested, have her go back and she's sincere about it, have her go back and make inquiry. There is a real estate broker.
Who is that real estate broker?
I don't know his name off the top of my head, but there is a real estate broker. I'm sure it's listed on their website.
Is it possible you could email Mr. Nugent that broker's name?
Yeah, I can. I just don't know. I do have it in my file, but I don't have my file here. But I'll email that to Brian, and I'll give you his contacts, that's all. Okay? Okay, so can I, assuming this all happens, can I count on being on the agenda on October 5th? And then, if we don't live up to what we've said tonight.
As long as this happens and there's no other violations,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for your patience tonight.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You had a lot on your plate, I saw that.
Yeah.
Busy night.
By the way, see, the last meeting, you had 2 people here.
Yeah.
You almost doesn't count, okay?
Oh, Ward always counts. Ward always counts. Come on.
Always counts.
It wouldn't be an official meeting without Ward.
Might as well be a council.
If Ward didn't come, we'd think that something was wrong.
Tonight you had 10 people.
Yeah.
Next time you'll have 15, and it'll
Yeah.
keep growing.
As long as we don't get up to 200 again, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but
We could fit it this time,
that's what I believe
post-COVID.
all these local governments should do. Open up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, have a good evening. Safe home.
Thank you.
All right.
Ward, you're up.
Insult duly noted. Ward Brower, private citizen. Just 3 things. One, on this sister's project, will that be going before the planning board and?
Yes.
Okay, because that's a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
That has to,
Big
yeah.
project.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah, that would, under the CCR, basically, they would apply with the master development plan to us. The board would, concur with the planning board, and then if they said, hey, yeah, we like it, or whatever, one of two things would happen. We would ask if the planning board had substantial changes that they'd want to see on it before the MDP is actually submitted. We would ask the developer to do that, and then once we approve it, it goes to the planning board, they go through their process, secret, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I like the concept, but it's a couple of points that planning board has expertise in that.
Yeah, and well, listen,
Without a doubt, I don't want to be responsible.
architectural, all the stuff that they would normally do on a project this magnitude, they would still be doing.
Okay, that's good.
The only one on this board I trust to make decisions on that is Mary, so.
Duly noted on that one.
Ditto.
Okay, the next question, not really a question, comment. I want to thank Tony, your secretary, for helping us again with our Zoom meeting.
Okay, anytime. You know that, whatever you
She's
need.
a vital public official.
Yeah, she is.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing is that, this probably goes to Brian. This doesn't happen often, but when members of the Conservation Commission, I don't know if Mary ever had the experience, when we walk properties, many times these are unimproved sites, and you often have to park on the shoulder of the road. And sometimes you're in there for a couple hours. And I know I was targeted one time, I don't know if anyone else was. But the troopers don't know that. They think we're abandoned vehicles. So if we could have a sign to put in on like our dashboard, Conservation Commission, our official business, so they would know that.
I'll have Jen make you signs.
That would be very helpful. Thank you, that's it.
Yep.
Listen, Ward, there was a motorhome here this weekend, parked
geez.
over at the corner. I mean, a really nice one, like a high-end one, like with the sides popped out and everything.
In town hall?
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
parking
with
lot
the
right
car.
here. And I drove by and it's like, what is this, like the Walmart parking lot or something,
No, just so you know, Anne Marie called me
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she did.
Saturday night.
I'm sure she did.
I got out here with the village police, and they asked me if I wanted it towed. I said, listen, I don't want to incur any.
There was nobody in it?
Yeah, there was somebody. It was a dog.
Oh, really?
I was knocking on the door, and the dog started to bark. So the Monroe PD came in. They ran the plates. I guess it's hard because it's out of state to determine phone numbers and whatnot. They said, we'll swing by and see. He said it might be somebody that has come here to visit somebody, and he's just overnight, and then Sunday morning he was gone. So I came by Sunday morning, he was gone. So. Oh, but listen, so today, I don't know if Mary Ellen saw, so today, some guy sets up shop out here, and he's got cones, and he pulls out his daughter's skates and another 2 bikes, and they start biking in the parking lot like it's a park. So I was like, listen, there's little kids, I don't want to go bother them. It looks like they're having a good time. Yeah, I don't want to be the bad guy with that. They were learning, how to bike.
You got on one of the bikes, didn't you?
I was almost tempted to go out and see if I could still ride that thing, so. But, yeah, so, I mean, and then tonight you saw there was another guy out here. So, yeah, and you know what? Everybody's been cooped up. I'm not going to
You can't get crazy.
I'm not going to be like Rick and kick him out. I would never do that.
Hey, we got that guy, and we have 2, in fact, at Walmart, been there over a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
Over
yeah.
a year.
That guy's still there.
2 of them, yeah,
2 of
over a year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ward.
Thank you, Ward.
You got a Ward.
All right, so we got to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations. So I'll make a motion to go into executive session for contract negotiations.
Cologne, a second.
Call question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Again,
Okay, so moved. Thank you guys for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, we'll see you Friday. for
Thank you,
Food
Mr.
Truck
Bennett.
Friday.
Listen,